Hi, I'm Naomi with the Naomi Butler Show, and you can't see me. I'll bring it up and then bring it back down. Hi there. I'm going to show you how I set up my Masterson palette, and so I'm going to bring it back down so you can see everything I'm doing. And this is the Masterson palette. I bought it at Michael's. It has a lid. It has probably an inch deep area or deep well here, so you can put your whatever you want to use. And I'm going to show you what I use. I don't buy the yellow, whatever it's called, that sets in here that soaks up the water, and then you put the palette paper on top. What I use instead is felt paper, and I buy the big sheet in a yard. It's a premium felt. I buy it at Joann's, and when I bought it this last time, I had a 50 off, so that made it so nice. I could cut I used a pattern and cut it. I think I got 9 pieces out of it. And so it made it like 50 cents a piece instead of, I think the other one was $14.99, the yellow one at Michael's, or maybe more now. Anyway, this is the felt piece that goes in the well, okay? And I'm gonna set up 2 of these, but this is the lid that when you get through and you have your paints on, the paints will last, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. This is it's called the Stay Wet Premium Palette, acrylic paper, 30 sheets, Masterson Art Production, or Art Products Inc., but it's the Masterson palette that goes with, palette paper that goes with the Masterson palette. So I buy these, and of course, I try to buy them when I find a 30 off now, which, you know, the 50 offs are now no longer available. So what I do is I put the felt down. I've got the felt down on both of these. And then what I do is I take some water. And instead of spending lots of time spraying water like this, because you're wanting to really soak these really good, I'll take a bunch of water and pour it. I'll just pour some on all the way around so it soaks up this palette felt, or the felt area for this Masterson palette. And this helps it to not take as much time, but it will soak in and it'll be full of water. And there's a reason for this, because once this is really soaked good, then the palette paper that you put on top, I may have to get a little bit more water. I'm showing you how to set this up, and this doesn't take a lot of time. It's just one thing that you want to do to make sure your paints stay wet. And I have a bigger coffee container that I'm gonna just pour some water in here. Makes it easier to use a smaller container to make sure I've got every area sopping wet. And you notice I put even extra water on it. And so it's sopping wet. And then I'm gonna I've got 2 more sheets of this. So I'm gonna lay them on top of this wet felt. These are the pieces of palette paper that go with this Masterson palette. And then I'm going to, instead of just pouring it over, this is when I'll spray it down, because it's got a lot of water underneath it. And so this doesn't take a lot of water on this surface. So it's wet underneath, it's wet on top. I make sure it's wet all the way to every edge. And then I'm ready now to put the paints on. And so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to start with white. And I use gesso, sometimes I use white, but I'm just going to pour some white in the middle of both palettes because I may have warmer colors on one and cooler colors on the other, but you use a lot of white. And so I'm just putting some gesso out in the middle. You can use white paint or you can use gesso. It's a lot cheaper than white paint and it works just fine for me. Now, I had already opened up some of these, and I'm just going to show you the Winsor & Newton and some of the golden ones. You have to have a pair of pliers to kind of get it open and get it started. And then I'm going to put a bunch of blues down here on this one. And yes, this may take just a little time, but that's okay. Whoops, 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 whoops. That's okay. A little white paint on that. You know what? Paint shirts, paint pants. That's for putting paint on like that. And I'll just throw that in the trash. All right, I've got the cobalt teal already loosened up so I can add it to the palette. And some of these, I'm just using some of my paints that I've had for a while. Even though this is golden, that's an expensive paint. I've had it for a while now, so I want to kind of make sure I use it before it gets all dried up. These paints have lasted me many years. Now this is ultramarine. Let me tell you what the first one was. That was cerulean blue. This is cobalt teal. And this one is ultramarine blue, which you use in a lot of things, landscapes included. And then I have this other Liquitex Basics. It's going to be close to that color, but a little bit different maybe. A little bit lighter. Okay. I'm going to use some light greens. And that one, and that's an off-brand, and this one's the Winsor & Newton Galleria paint. They're going to be very close to color, but a little bit different thickness. Okay, that's that. Now, in the other one, I'm going to put some orange and reds and yellows. So I've got orange going. Again, I'd already kind of gotten these loose so they would be easier to open quick for you. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here and you waiting on me to get something open. All right, so those are there. I'm gonna use some crimson because also when you mix the crimson and yellow, you get orange. So I'm gonna put it right here because I may want to make a different type of orange. And I'm going to put some pinks over here. Yes, that one is going to squirt a little bit because it's close to the end of everything. I have Permanent Rose, which is a pretty, pretty pink, which you might not be able to see, but it is a little bit darker. I'll bring it up close and show it to you in just a second. And then we're gonna put some purples. Put some dark. Oxazine purple over here is really dark. And that would take some doing to get that out of there. So I'm just gonna put a little bit. I've got another of that same color in the Liquitex brand. So I'm going to put it on there. And I've got some light purple. I use all kinds of brands, as you can tell. I use some of the less expensive Artist Lofts. I use Liquitex Golden. And I found these years ago. It's Art District acrylic. I found those at, I forget, Aaron Brothers maybe. And we're going to put some black. And since I have a lot of those colors there, I'm going to put the black over here. And before I put that black, I've got one Liquitex Basics that needs to be used up first. Okay, so we've got a lot of colors out. I don't have any Titan Buff out, so I'm going to put it over here. And what I'm going to do on the next video, you'll see the same shirt because I just wanted to get this ready and show you how I get my palette ready. Now, here's that dark permanent rose, but here's what I'm going to do. And you can see because it's wet, this is starting to liquefy and go over each other. But when I'm through painting, I'm going to spray everything with water on top, put the lid on, and it's ready to stay like that for a while. Because I don't paint all the time, then this is a very good way for me to save my palette and my paints and use them multiple times. And then once the palette paper, like once you've used most of your paint up and your palette paper looks like an abstract painting, then you could put more stuff on it, keep it going until it just gets so bad that you just have to throw that palette paper away. And then the one underneath, the felt paper, the felt underneath, once it gets really bad and starts looking and maybe smelling kind of funny, then you can throw it away. But if you buy it like I do at Joann's and cut it up, it's a lot less expensive than the other way. So I hope this helps you, and I will see you on the next video.